Hi, it's Todd here from Todd Cutler, and I'm going to talk about this rapier today. So this is a piece which is just going out the door, but it was a very, very long time in the making. But I'll tell you the story about that afterwards, but I'll show you the piece first. So this is a copy of a piece in the Met Museum in New York. If I remember correctly, it was early 17th century. The original was made by a guy called Johannes Moon, and this is my interpretation of it. So we've just got a simple transit scabbard here, so let's not get excited about that. And then that is our sword. So relatively short for a rapier, but this is following the size of the one in the museum. And then we have a guard here. Obviously the whole thing is gilded. Lovely gilded pommel. Now the first thing to say is this absolutely magnificent grip was made by Chris at Balefire Blades for me. So I can do simple wire work. I can't do anything approaching this, and I was never going to be able to. So I handed that one straight over to Chris, and he's done a magnificent job. And then of course we have the engraving. So this is a spring steel blade, and engraving into that, pre-hardened, because you're going to lose it if you then do the hardening and it's engraved before. So then the script again was engraved by another craftsman that I know, a guy called Keith, and again, fabulous little job. So there we have it. Now, let's tell you the background story about this. So the customer who commissioned this actually originally wanted a sword around the time of COVID actually, and it was one of Oliver Cromwell's swords. Now I went to visit it, I went to examine it, brilliant, but then the hilt was incredibly complex in the sense that it had 1 million piercings all the way through it, and then everything was sculpted all over the top. What I wanted to do, because it was going to be really hard to actually get that anywhere accurate, is I wanted to do a 3D scan and a 3D print of the basic shape of the shell with all of the piercings through it. And then the sculptor was going to sculpt around that. Partly because of COVID, partly because of different people's abilities to interact with the project, the times they had available, we had to ditch that. It just turned out not to be possible. So the second choice sword was this one from the Met. We had 4 photos. Those 4. That was it. And of course, sculpting a guard like that from a photo taken from there, somewhat problematic. However, I've got a friend, Matt Rowe, who is an awesome sculptor, and he's done bits for me before. He's currently head of props on Rings of Power. He's just an incredibly talented sculptor. So he took this job on for me. And he's looking at the very limited information that you've got from those pictures, trying to interpret what this was. Now, we've kind of gone for a South American theme on it, which sounds kind of crazy, but the New World was exciting. And I was actually talking to Dr. Toby Capwell about this rapier last weekend. And there's another one that he knows which has a Central American theme on it, and that's very definitely the case. So although it seems a little outlandish, you look at the heads from the not great photos we had, and it really does read that way. So we've sort of followed almost like a Aztec-y kind of a theme with the decoration on the hilt, which, like I say, sounds absolutely bonkers, but I don't believe it is. So of course, with that very limited information, the really obvious thing is to go to the Met and say, have you got any more pictures? I did. And unfortunately, I think they had a reorganisation or something at the time. They were unable to get to the cabinet to do any more pictures for me. So that was all the information we had at this point. Obviously, it's a bit limiting. I put a shout onto Facebook, and a guy who lived in New York very kindly went down to the Met and took as many photos as he could, sent them to me. That's great, but of course it's still through a cabinet. It's not set up for photography from every angle. It was difficult. So it helped us, but it didn't solve everything. So Matt did a fantastic interpretation job on the guard. So what I did was I made the maquette for the guard. So I made a brass framework of all the panels, all the pieces, and then Matt sculpted over that. I did the same with the pommel as well. Matt sculpted over that. Blade itself I did completely myself. But then we come to some of the other problems we had. So you look at the weight that's listed in the Met Museum, and it's listed as, I forget again now, but it's something like 650 grams. It's clearly incorrect. There is absolutely no way you can make this sword at 650 grams. So I didn't have blade thicknesses and things like that, so I went on other rapiers of the time. So there's a lot of interpretation involved in the project. But I've made this sword and it has come out at 1,130 grams, which is a good weight for this kind of thing. And I think that what happened, in fact, was that somebody measured it in pounds, and it was 2.4 pounds or something like that. It was written down as 1.4 pounds. It was something like that happened. So the information in the Met is actually incorrect. And there we have it. So that is our Met Museum Johannes Moon Rapier, 1,130 grams, looking absolutely glorious and lovely, and just about to go off to its new home. Thank you.